I've just never really. It's like the cute PewDiePie. I've never really understood that whole concept.
No, all he does is scream really high pitched.
Yeah, and
I mean that was his whole thing. That was his whole shtick, and
now he's a millionaire.
Well, now he's a millionaire who, thinks that talking about fucking Nazis killing Jews is hilarious. So
yeah,
he's just an awful person who went woo in a microphone.
Well, I don't know if he's a.
Nah, he's shitty
he's
because
an awful person.
Yeah, because he did it again. People called him out on it. He's like, "Oh, it'll never happen again," and he did it again.
Well, that was the. Didn't he slip up and say the N-word?
Yeah, it's the same shit though.
Yeah,
it's just like something that you shouldn't be saying, and it's not because it's offensive, because it's just disgusting.
It is disgusting, but you know what the weird thing is that he is the person that, okay, let's not act like let's not take the high ground here, and let's say that like when we were younger we didn't do some really
no, I did some reactionary shit when I was younger.
I did, and said some horrible shit to people on there, and I look back and I'm like, man, I was a dumbass.
I was a piece of shit.
I was a piece of shit. But I look and I'm like, yeah, that was me not knowing anything. That was not me knowing better. And if like there was a tape out there of stuff I'd say and someone posted
I'd own up to it.
I'd be like, yeah, I was a dumb, idiotic, like 15, 16-year-old. Like, I was a dumbass. Like, I just was. And, like, Halo, like, come on. Halo 2 days. I don't know if you...
Talking shit? Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Talking shit online was fucking great, but...
It was great, but then you realize, you're like, man, I was really an asshole. And there's, like, a lot of stuff that I...
It's not only that you were an asshole, like, thinking about the things that you did to get laughs, or to fuck with somebody,
to just get the person to laugh next to you. Yeah,
it was really uncreative, and like I'm disappointed in myself when I look
know
back on that kind
I was
of shit.
kind of disappointed in myself too, but it's like the same reason why like I look back and not the same reason, but like we all did stupid stuff. Like, hey, I used to have Nickelback on my iPod. It was bad.
I never. Woo.
I had like.
I'm never gonna. Now that I know that, I'm never gonna let that.
I had one or two Nickelback songs, and I was like, yeah,
Jesus Christ,
yeah. I just had dumb stuff.
Yeah.
I did dumb stuff.
There's definitely probably some bands that I listened to that I really
Yeah, exactly. I didn't listen to. I'll tell you this, never listened to a full Nickelback album.
No.
But I had like one or two singles on my on my iPod whenever I first got it, because I was like, oh, I like that song from the radio. But like as I said, we're all different. We're different from what we were 10 years ago.
Everybody is. If you haven't changed since you were, a teenager, you haven't grown as a fucking person.
And guess what? You go back to your high school yearbook.
Yeah.
And you look at all the people that you consider fuck ups in your yearbook, and then think to yourself, how do they act? Oh yeah, they act exactly like they did in high school.
Yeah.
But they're now fucking almost 30.
Yeah.
So you've got problems. Like, yeah, and I know a bunch of people, and I've talked to them like, hey, you remember how horrible we were on all the shit we used to say? And he's like, yeah, man, I just try to forget that stuff. I'm like, yeah. And I have some friends now that who troll on there, but never some of the shit they used to say.
Well, see, that's the thing. Is like I used to do that a lot online too. And I guess getting older, my methodology has changed quite a bit, where I go for things that specifically aren't offensive. Like, when I troll...
It's almost like tailor-made for that person.
Exactly. You try to bait a specific emotional response out of that person, and then after that point, they've lost. It's over. Like, there was one time where I spent 2 hours telling somebody that I didn't know that they smelled so bad that the smell was coming through my internet router, and eventually they broke, and they're like, yo, you're a fucking faggot, and you do all this shit. And I got them banned because they just started spouting all this hateful shit to me. And all I did was tell them, hey, man, do you need help? Like, do you need me to teach you how to take a bath or a shower? Because you smell so bad that it's coming through my fucking...
Well, it's like, even like, just go back. Like, you remember 10 years ago how, like, it never was acceptable for me because I have someone in my family who is gay. Yeah. But you remember how, like, it was almost acceptable to go around and say faggot?
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you remember, like, 10 years ago how terrible, like, the society was? You could actually say that.
Yeah, and like, a lot of times you didn't even mean specifically something homosexual. Like, faggot became
just a derogatory
asshole,
word.
just a derogatory term for like asshole, piece of shit. It was just negative anything.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how just because you don't mean it to be homophobic, it can still be homophobic.
Yeah, it's just that.
It took me becoming an adult to learn that kind of stuff about these words. So I guess again, like we said, if you haven't changed since you were, a young person, you haven't grown as a person.
You need to sit down, take a deep breath, and you need to look at yourself. If that's
it's not about
those are the type of words you use, and if that's your idea of humor, like you can, sure, it's funny, like it can be funny in the right context in a non-hurtful demeanor, but I can't even like me even just saying what I like. I think that's the first. I can't believe I actually said that, but like it feels dirty coming out of my mouth. It feels. Yeah. Whenever there's that little click in the back of your head that like...
You're like, yeah.
Like, if I cringe...
Yeah.
And
that's the way you should fucking feel.
And to be honest, I rarely, ever... Like, you saw me just playing Overwatch. Just when I was coming. I don't play with a headset. I don't. There's no reason to. Yeah. And there's like, my favorite thing is on Rocket League. Like, my friends, whenever they're trolling somebody... Whenever they score a point, they just troll what a save like 1,000 times.
Yeah,
like
that's so, and it's so much more rewarding, really. Like I mean, I realize that trolling's still pretty immature, but it's so much more rewarding to do it in a way that's not obviously offensive.
Yeah, not hurtful to a group of people.
Like you can be proud of the creativity that you had to use.
There is an art to trolling.
Yeah, and you either have it or you're just fucking shit at it and you just use offensive language. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you're right.
It's weird. How do we get on Fortnite.
Yeah, we were talking about Fortnite and people trolling and all kinds of stuff.
I don't know. It's tough whenever...
It's not about whether what you're doing is offensive or not. And that's where people kind of misunderstand the art of trolling. Is that people are just like, oh, I'll be offensive and I'll just make people feel bad about themselves, and that's not really what it is. You want them to be angry at you.
I got this one little kid. He was on Grand Theft Auto. And eventually, I just muted him. Yeah. But he was just sitting there saying everything that you in the book that you can think of, every curse, every slang, every whatever. So I sent him a message that just says, "You'll regret yourself in 10 years." I just said you'll regret yourself in 10 years. Obviously, my comment back was not great, but it was pretty. It was just a big like, fuck you.
But you're right. But
I hope that kid remembers that in 10 years. That somebody said you'll regret you in 10 years.
Yeah,
and then I muted him, but I muted him. I blocked him. Yeah, but I was just like, before I mute you, I just had to. Yeah. I think I was stuck in a GTA thing waiting for you to come in, and I was just like, man, you're going to be me in 10 years. Like, you're just going to look back at yourself and be like, man,
really disappointed.
I was ashamed of myself.
Yeah.
Like, I really was. Yeah. I really am. And it's made my aspect on just going on with a mic. I feel odd if I go into an open group with a mic. I rarely ever do. Because I'm just... And I don't want to experience that again.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that came from, they gave you a microphone and they gave you a platform to talk, but you really had nothing to fucking say. Mm-hmm. Nothing to say. And those are the kind of people that generally do that kind of offensive trolling.
You know what the crazy thing I thought was? Now, if you were like this, what do you think? Back when I was an asshole, like when I was like 16 and I was online just saying whatever with no repercussions. You know what the crazy thing was? I was not that person offline. But, like, that's not who I was. Yeah. I wasn't, like, some bigoted asshole that would just say whatever. Like, like, I had respect for everybody. But, like, when I was online and you didn't have a face,
that anonymity brings out something in you it's there all the time, but you keep it in check normally. Yeah.
And but, like, it's tough because that's not what I'm, like, I look back and I'm ashamed of it, but it's like, that's not what I was like. Well, nor how I felt. I didn't feel that way. But, like, there was something about that some guy calling you a piece of shit or hey, go wait for your balls to drop, something like that. That would just piss you off, and you're just like, you would say anything to piss that guy off.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. It's just weird. Yeah. The psychology of having a mic and a opportunity to say something. Like, we now have that opportunity with this show, but we're not like that.
Yeah.
Because we don't try to promote negativity.
Well, I think as you age, you either decide to kill that aspect of yourself or to keep feeding it. And then those are the people that, like we said, haven't grown.
Yeah, I guess so. Whew. That was getting a little...
That was some deep shit.
That's some deep psychological shit. Man.
You weren't expecting that.
I was not expecting that. Yeah. I just kind of thought, hey, we don't have a lot of topics today. Let's just kind of wing it and see where it goes. But it's like, man, we're getting into the psychology of our 16, 14-year-old selves and being like, wow, what a piece of shit we were.
Yeah.
I apologize for anybody who I spoke to, anybody who... My fucking gamer tag was a pansy. Like, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I know some people who had some worse shit than that.
Yeah.
So anybody who had to deal with that gamer tag saying any vulgar shit to you during Halo 2 days, I apologize. I'm very sorry. I mean, I really am.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. Anything that I did probably prior to me being 20 years old was probably just shit behavior.
Yeah. I mean...
Because, when you're young, you just kind of don't care.
Yeah, there's no repercussions.
You want to establish yourself in the world, but you don't always go about it the right way.
But at the same time, here's another thing. You also didn't have to worry about people tracking you down.
Oh,
like how it is today. Like, you didn't have to worry about, like, someone coming and finding you or swatting you or anything. Like, hacking your accounts and fucking with you. I mean... You just didn't have to worry about that. It was a new thing. It was like a new form of the internet that we had no idea how to work with. But yeah, I know a lot of people, and I think this is most people who are.
I think you're right. You're right saying that it was because you're right. All that stuff, all that online gaming with headsets and shit, that was coming out around the time that we were that age.
Yeah,
and having immature people being the pioneers of any kind of new technology is probably not a great idea, but that's what happened.
That was also all that was fed to you. Like, half the language, like, half the vulgar shit that I was hearing wasn't stuff you were hearing out in day-to-day public because it wasn't... No one speaks like that.
Yeah.
No one is that big of a shithead. But it was being told to you by other people saying all these vulgar shit, like... Oh, so that's the word you're going to use to fucking piss... You know what that word means.
Yeah.
You knew what those words meant. But you're like, oh, so these are the words I have to use to get under somebody's skin.
To get a reaction.
And that was like... That was the jargon of the fucking... Like, toxicity of the online experience back in, like, the 2005 era.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what it was.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, you never really think about it till, like, now. Like, us talking about it. Like, it's never really, like, sank in how deeply disturbing our behaviors were back then. And I can't be alone. I mean, if anybody's watching this, comment below and be like, do you guys feel like that way? Like,
yeah, do you guys remember acting that way? Like,
there's no guilt here. I mean, like, everybody did shit when they were younger that they just kind of regret. But, like, you know, like, how many times do you think in a day when you're like, oh, man, I wish I could go back in time? Not gaming online, but how many times you go, wish I didn't say that to that person. Wish I didn't do that action because it just was stupid. It was for a quick laugh or a cheap thrill. Why did I do that?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that.
But yeah, no, seriously, like, I'm just curious. If anybody's there, comment. Go to the YouTube video if you're listening to this audio and just comment below, like, yeah, I remember doing some shit that I wasn't... You don't have to.
You don't have to give us specifics.
No, but I mean, like, are we alone? And like, I feel like we can't be alone in that sentiment.
No, I'm sure a lot of people our age have evolved on this topic.
Yeah,
over the years.
Like, well, hey, yeah, I was a shitty person when I was 14, 15.
Yeah,
we were all assholes back then.
I think for me, I never really dropped trolling. What I did is I changed who my target was. I changed my target to be people who were like I used to be.
Okay, so you just you just kind of channeled it. But I remember, like, even the older people, like, I remember you'd hear those people with those deep voices. Yeah. Be like, you're clearly, like, I mean, we're 16. You're clearly our age now. Yeah. And you're spouting this shit off like crazy. Like, it's kind of crazy. I mean, that is, I did not, once again, I didn't think they were going to go this deep into this podcast on this matter. Yeah.
So, like I said, my methods change. Like, I'm getting to the point where I'm bored with it. But my method basically was, let's learn a little bit about this person, sort of find where their emotional weaknesses are, and exploit that without using any of these types of languages. Because those were the people that were doing the shit that I was doing when I was younger. I was like, let's teach these motherfuckers a lesson. Yeah. Because nobody taught me a lesson, and
that is actually really...
I mean, I guess I kind of just learned, evolved on my own, dealing with people, hearing about their experiences, like how people have treated them, and I'm like, oh, damn, like some of this shit, I remember doing similar things, and like, I can't believe that I was affecting these people in that way. Like, that wasn't really the goal. The goal was, let's get a laugh.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I decided to take it the opposite direction. And like in Counter-Strike, I used to use it to get people banned. I used to get them to say horrible shit to me with just the most innocuous, non-offensive dialogue that I possibly could that would just, fuck them off. And then as soon as they were angry, they'd say some shit to me, and I'd be like, oh, I've been recording this. Time to report it. So...
Yeah, I think my solution was I just cut the mic. I only usually use the mic when I'm going online with you.
Well, that's
always a private. It's just me and you.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like about online gaming now is that you have private chat rooms that you can do, and like it wasn't like that when we were growing up. It was basically you were in the game, and that's where the chat was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you couldn't really do private.
Yeah.
Like, that just wasn't advanced.
And especially on console, like, the difficulty of muting someone was completely different than something like,
Yeah, I think what you had to do...
Counter-Strike 1.6, where you could open up the score menu and just mute somebody.
Yeah, I don't even remember in Halo. I think you had to, like, go into their account and either request to mute them or something. I don't know if you could just mute somebody. But honestly, then... muting somebody back then was just like accepting defeat, and it was like tough to handle. And when you're a younger kid, you don't want to lose; you want to win. Mm-hmm. It's tough. It's a funny subject.
Complex issue.
Complex issue for sure. But okay, I think that'll kind of do it for the podcast today. I'm gonna say that's a good way to leave off. But Adam, where can people find us if they want to check out the
Facebook?
Podcast?
You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/GTAS podcast, twitter.com/GTAS podcast.
And then check in the description below, and it will
iTunes, show Google Play, Stitcher. Mm-hmm. You can also check out the International Bear Hurdling Association on Facebook. I'm telling you, I'm doing it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to, like, fucking stream it and record it and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I just we just kind of went into that impromptu thing like that. If there are any type of topics like that anybody would like to hear us
we'll talk
discuss about, go a little bit more in depth with, leave in the comments a suggestion or shoot us a message on our Facebook or on our Twitter, and we'll probably find a way to work it into the show. Mm-hmm.
We'll do basically anything that involves the type of pop culture stuff that we talk about: music, movies, games.
Yeah, tell me to listen to an album. I'll tell you what I think of it. I'm dead serious. You want me to do that? I'll do that for our like 8 listeners.
Yeah, we will. We will. Really, the only thing that we don't want to touch on is stuff that's outside of that. Like if the outside subject
I don't want to talk about politics.
I mean, I would, but I don't think Bobby's the right person to talk about it with. But
nope. Nope.
But
although I've been told that I'm actually very good with politics because I actually listen and digest what people are telling me.
Yeah, but you're able to analyze. Yeah, you just don't. Yeah.
Like I talked to somebody who's very political someone I know.
I mean, me.
You, but
I'm like that
but
all
even
the time,
even so, me and you, we kind of don't really deal with too many politics. But I talk with someone who's very different in my political views.
We'll talk about politics on the show if it relates to those subject matters, like gaming, or like we talk about the loot box thing and the legal system of getting involved.
Yeah, we talk about stuff like that. But I'm not going to talk about like. I don't even want to go into topics. Like, I'm not going to talk about like human rights. Stuff like that. I all you need to know is my views are pretty liberal.
Yeah.
And that's probably as far as I'll go. But I'm still registered as an independent. I don't have a political party. Like, that's how apolitical I am.
Yeah.
So, but I'll be willing to talk about anything else. Pretty much. You want to talk about why the sky's blue? I don't know much, but I'll talk about it. So
I got a funny story about that.
Yeah, I don't save it for another time.
Yeah,
Adam.
It's about Jehovah's Witness and me just completely wrecking.
Did I ever tell you?
Calling Jehovah's Witness at my door.
Oh, did I ever tell you that I used to roll with some Jehovah's Witnesses?
Really?
Mm-hmm. I knew some people I worked with, and I'd always go out to their little like Jehovah's Witness functions, and they knew I was not a Jehovah's Witness. They knew I was very not anything religious. But they would like, hey, do you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I'd just be hanging around with a bunch of like Jehovah's Witnesses, like rolling through like Oakland.
They probably didn't jump on your shit too much because they know you don't have any fucking money.
Yeah, they might not have known that I'm.
Yeah,
they actually knew.
They're so much fun to fuck with.
Well, they're actually very nice. They're very nice.
Well,
I've never met a mean Jehovah's Witness.
In public,
you just like fucking with them because they're bothering you at your door.
Yeah. Like, I had a conversation about like what words mean and why we decided that they mean those things one time.
With Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah, like why is the grass considered green? Why is the sky blue? Who made these decisions? Like, I fucking wasted like an hour of their time before they finally got.
You're an asshole.
I used to do.
This is your aspect of trolling the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, well, I used to do the same thing with military recruiters too.
You know that the reason they're at your door is to try to save your soul. They actually are trying to help you.
Because they don't come to my house now. But when I lived with my grandmother, because she was old and had money, they came to her house. So it's not the same thing.
Certain ones, the group that I held out with, they actually were all about like, they wanted me to become a Jehovah's Witness because they wanted me not to suffer in hell or something like that.
Well, Jehovah's Witness is just like Scientology light.
No,
they only think that a certain amount of people are going to go.
Yeah, I believe it's like
100,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like 145,000 people will determine whether or not, and then the rest will be raising up. I don't know. I'm just getting a little deep. I could go pretty deep in Jehovah's Witnesses just because I hung out with them for so long. It was like a good 2 years that I was hanging out with a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses.
But I just like
super nice.
I just like fucking with them.
Yeah,
I did the same thing with a military recruiter. Called my house all the time. They knew I was insulin dependent diabetic because I told them the first time, and they kept calling me.
Oh man, dude,
So I kept wasting their time. I'm like, oh yeah, all this stuff and blah 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 blah. I talked to them for like an hour, and then I'd be like, by the way, I'm an insulin dependent diabetic, and they're like, oh. Sorry about that.
That's the thing that sucks. I'd have the same thing, but you're just an asshole, and I was just sitting there like, look, I'm really not that interested. I really don't want to join the military. And they're like, well, please just hold up and just listen to a couple things. And then they do their whole spiel and then be like, well, do you have any medical histories? I'm like, I broke my ankle when I was 16, and there are currently like 3 pins in it. They're like, well, that would probably disqualify you. All right, see you later. I'm like, dude, you just wasted 45 minutes of my time.
Hey, that's exactly why I started wasting their time.
Yeah. I'm like, you could have just asked that straight off the bat. Hey, do you have any medical histories? We could solve this real quickly. I get it, though. All right, well, going off that small little spiel. All right, but for everybody, thank you for listening to the GTAS podcast, the best, worst podcast you'll ever regret listening to. I'm Bob Rusin.
I'm Adam Miller.
And until next time, don't get captured, and farewell.